Hi, welcome back. It's your favorite professor, Dr. T. So I just wanted to go over some of the things that will be on your exam for Chapter 2 really quick. I'm not going to do every single problem. Some of them are really self-explanatory. So for number 1, the domain and range, and you can see the answers right there. You can also utilize this as a tool to understand how you are supposed to put the answers in. And you can also see what section they come from. So this is 2.1. Evaluating a function is really self-explanatory as well. Graphing the given function here. Remember, this is just transformations. So you're transforming this function to this one. Using the vertical line test, I don't think I need to go over that at all. This is the one that usually gets students confused. So you want to discuss if the function is decreasing. If it is not, you say never. And then if it is increasing, you need to just use the interval notation and use a comma to separate the answers. And then most of these functions are never constant, but you might get one. So be careful about that. Determining if it has the maximum or minimum and where they're located. So this function, and you can see right here, I'm just going to zoom in really quick so you can see. Here is the maximum, and then these two are the minimums. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And then you have to be careful about the difference between so like for instance, it says, what is the relative maximum, right? And that would be at the x value 3, but then it's asking you where it's located on the y-axis, and that would be 5. Okay, so I'm not going to go through too much of that, but just notice where these are. Okay, and then the minimum, and then finding the slope of the line passing through whatever the slope is of that line. You just use the slope formula. Remember, m equals y2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. And I would label my points x1, y1, x2, y2. And then you just have to describe right here what the slope looks like. And then point slope form. So I just would recommend that you practice y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And they give you the slope. So this is m. And then your point, this would be x1, y1. Okay, and you just substitute. And then you just solve for y. So you take this function right here, you solve for y, and you end up with the slope-intercept form. Sorry about my raspy voice. I'm not sure why it keeps being raspy. So here you're just identifying the slope and the y-intercept of the function. And then you're just graphing here. And then if a line is, let me make that a little bit. Write an equation for the line L in point slope form and in slope intercept form that is parallel to 4x. And so you can just be creative and make your line. Okay. It doesn't say that it's passing through any particular point. So same thing here. This one's perpendicular, and just remember that the slope. So if my slope is 1/2, then the line perpendicular to it, or sorry, that's parallel. So the line perpendicular to it would be the slope would be m equals -2. So just be careful that you make sure you do that. Okay, so for the average rate of change, just remember the formula f of b, minus f of a. It's similar to the slope formula, all over b minus a. And really, if you look at this right here, they give you the x equals -3 and x equals -5. Well, that's your a and your b. Okay, so up top you see it says x equals a and x equals b. So it's the same concept. And here you just need to graph your function. You need to transform whatever your initial function is, and you just need to transform it. So just be careful with that. This is going to be a reflection, so just be careful. Here you're just doing a transformation. Shifting, transformations. Just be careful with the notation for the domain of anything that has a denominator, a rational function. And then these are a lot of fun, but you need to determine the domain. If there's nothing in the denominator, you don't have to worry. It usually is -infinity to infinity. And all you're doing is just adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing two functions. So I went over that pretty much with a fine-tooth comb in class. And then just be mindful of the domain of the very last function that has a denominator. Inverses of one another. Remember, you're just plugging one function into the other. So for instance, I'm going to take x, I'm going to plug g into f, and I'm going to get x minus 1 divided by 8 here. And then I'm going to have plus 1, right? So that cancels. X minus 1 plus 1 is x. Okay, and then you just do the opposite. So you do your first one, f of g of x, and then you do the other one. And then you just need to, the graph of the function is given. Determine whether the function has an inverse, midpoint. You need to know how to write an equation in the circle, the equation of a circle with center and radius. So just be careful with that. Distance formula, find the distance between the 2 points. And then there's a conceptual question here, so just be careful about that. As always, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.